Oftentimes, one of the biggest things that kind of goes unspoken about, or we don't make a point of teaching this enough as dog trainers to our students, meaning to our human students, I should say, is body language. And body language when you're addressing dogs or teaching dogs or anything, right? And it can be really important because dogs primarily read body language over everything else. So all the words and things that we use, the verbal cues, can be helpful, but if our body language is saying something different, it can be very confusing. So for instance, oftentimes one of the things I have to help people with is like on recalls, when they're saying come to their dog, they're often leaning forward. And it's not a very inviting move into me body language, whereas like leaning back and taking a step backwards or just generally encouraging the dog to move in your direction with clear body language is helpful, right? So when we do something with our body that says different than what we're saying with our voice, it's confusing. This is also true when we're addressing dogs for mistakes. Right, I just recently had a lesson where a woman was trying to get her dog to get back on place, but as she was doing it, she very much like softened her body language. She kind of like rounded her shoulders forward a little bit, and like a soft posture is not like a firm posture. It's not a way to address a dog and let them know they made a mistake or that you're addressing them to fix their behavior. So she's kind of went like this, and she was like, place, and it was kind of this really soft body language, and the dog was like, huh? Do you mean come off more? And he just kind of blew her off. So then when I had her stand upright and just point and say place, the dog fixed himself really quick. And it wasn't about the words, because the word was the same, but it was about the body language, right? So now that doesn't mean we need to get extremely posturing and threatening to our dogs when we're addressing them for stuff. But we do have to be intentional about what we look like when we're giving them communication of any sort, whether we're telling them no, telling them off, telling them to come, telling them to sit, down, things like that. We have to make sure we are showing them the correct visual if we're using a visual cue, right? So if you just teach your dog to stand, like if you're standing there and you say sit, and you're not offering any body language, that's fine. The dog will respond to the verbal cue. But if you say sit and you're doing something different, like if I say sit and I go like this, the dog's going to be like, well, your body says to follow you, but your word said to put my butt on the ground. I'm going to go with the body language, right? And to not confuse them, we got to kind of be clear about things, right? And that body language, if you're very intentional and you focus on it and you're not showing the dog the wrong image while you're communicating something, your training will go even further. So it's just something to think about as you're working with your dogs.